Australia Overnight, the Sunday morning edition. Let's talk about the housing and rental crisis. The September quarter results have come out. They report that the rental prices were 3.8% higher nationally over the quarter. That's the rental prices across the nation, 3.8% up over that quarter. The median advertised house rent is now at $550 a week. Unit rentals at $520 a week. In the capital cities, rental prices have risen 10.6% over the year, up to an average of $575 a week. Unit rentals up 19.6% over the year, the average at $550. The Sydney remains the most expensive rental market in the nation, average of $650 a week. And then there's the ACT at $600 a week, Darwin at $570 a week, and Brisbane at $540. Melbourne and Adelaide, the most affordable, at $500 a week as far as average price goes across the nation. To discuss this further, Mark Errichiello is from Master Advocates. Hi there, Mark.
Hi, Pat. How are you? Thanks for having me on your show.
No worries. Pleasure, mate. This is a bit of a constant or regular theme, Mark, this rental and housing crisis, rents going up, home prices going up, the supply not being there. What's going on? Tell me.
Yeah, it definitely has been impacting the market, and there's other inflations that people are suffering, both renters and homeowners, and then you've had the impacts of high interest rates, which fortunately they've remained on hold 4 consecutive months now, but still at a reasonably high rate compared to last year and the year before. What people were used to, but rental yields rising has been consistent since the last quarter of 2022. So every month, supplies reducing, population rising, and rental yields increasing dramatically. So there's a lot of pressure in the rental market.
You just described the perfect storm there, population's increasing also with migration, and supply is decreasing. I know the government has a plan with the government housing, but the numbers are going down there. So it's just a perfect storm. I mean, if that keeps happening, how are we going to find a solution?
Yes, yeah, and there needs to be a very quick, short-term solution to encourage the established rental market, the actual pool of the rental properties that are established and in the market, to hold on and not feel more pressure to exit or sell their investment properties, because that's a crucial supply that's needed to hold on to what's there now. The government housing plans and affordable housing visions for the future and construction of new dwellings, that's great for the future, but by the time that comes, even if they're able to achieve half of that ambitious goal of the number of dwellings to be constructed in the next 5 years to 10 years, it's going to be too late. There's going to be more devastation each year with homelessness, hardship and stress financially. People in the rental market will suffer. Property ownership will decline as far as investors, and they're already declining with the interest impact, other inflations, but also the amount of taxes on investors. And most of them are mum and dads trying to build something for their retirement, maybe one property on average with investors. They're being forced with heavy regulations and taxes.
131873 is our number here in Australia Overnight. Your experience as far as renting a property. Are you, like Mark says, selling your investment property because you're just, being pushed out by inflationary pressures, the interest rate, but also you touched on that, Mark, that these taxes. So why is the government basically, I guess, shooting itself in the foot and pushing out the existing people providing the housing supply? Why tax them and create more of a problem for yourself?
Look, the government, not just in Victoria, but also property and land taxes and stamp duties, which are high already, and they almost paralyse people to sell or downsize or buy, because it takes a long time to come up with those funds for the stamp duty. But property taxes make up over 50% of the government's revenue, especially here in Victoria. They're needed to help run the state, but there are other ways, and there's been some great research from some real estate institutes as well, suggesting that there are other taxes and measures that could either remove things like stamp duty or reduce them by increasing things like GST. Increase it nationally so that not only small percentages of the economy are
Yeah,
affected,
yeah.
but everyone shares the load.
So there's other ways of doing it as opposed to just targeting this one sector and taxing the property
Yeah.
sector. What did you say, that 50% of the government's revenue comes from property and those sorts of taxes? Is that what?
In Victoria, yes, over 50%,
Boy,
and there's a third of the population are renting, a third own homes, and there's a third that are unencumbered. So not everyone's sharing the load to support governance and the community and the wider population.
you mentioned Victoria. I mean, it's no secret that the budget blowout is massive. It's double the size of New South Wales, and if you put sort of New South Wales and Brisbane's debt together, Victoria still is worse than they are
Yeah.
together. So, is it just this sort of the current government just thinking, well, we just got to get the money back? We don't know. We don't care
Well,
how or what damage we do. We just
yeah,
want to
there
tax
is
people.
debt. That's right. Yeah, there's a big debt left over from COVID and subsidies and cash that had to go out to support community that weren't able to operate or trade, and people had to live during that period. But you can't demonise one sector because it's easy. It is a private business-like transaction. When you're a property owner, you decide to invest, it's like a small business.
Yeah.
Even with some small developers, they're seen as though they're making huge profits. A lot of them have worked very hard for little profit and big risk.
Mm.
And right now, there's some that I know personally, and other agents in the industry would know of as well, that it's a common story where they've got delays. They're trying to supply property, even 10, 15 properties at a time in development sites that they've got permits pending on sites ready to demolish and build new houses at a time when we need housing. And they have actually had interference or delays with local council and planning, sending things to VCAT to be revised, and they're reasonable projects when you look at them.
Yeah.
And then you've got now new land taxes for vacant sites coming at them from the other end,
Yes.
because
Yes.
they're not developing their sites, so they're getting increased land tax suggestions,
Mm.
and land tax is high already. So
Jeez.
that's a clear example of there's an opportunity for private developers that are ready to build and supply new property, and they're being taxed at every angle. All the dreams of profit are coming out of it,
Yeah.
and still no dwellings for people in the community to live in.
There you are. I mean, it makes me
Yeah,
laugh. You're right.
it's
It's
not fair.
pushing people out. It's
It's
not
not a
fair,
fair fight.
and
Then
there's no.
that's a
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and also the idea of taxing the aspirational. These people are giving it a go. They're working hard. They're purchasing properties. You're saying they're sort of mum and dad investors, whether they have 1 or 10. They're sort of providing housing stock and trying to sort of look after themselves and their family, and they're giving it a go in our society. And the
Yes.
government is sort of going for them and taxing those and making it harder for them. And also, you mentioned that vacant land tax is the latest one to be added to the list. Is that just Victoria, or is that a national thing?
Well, Victoria's suggested it. Now, hopefully, it gets reviewed and revised and doesn't come into play. But it's something that should definitely be reflected on and reconsidered. I'm feeling, forget about which political party. It's more about the policy and just making good revisions now that can help the property market, people to find housing, renters and homeowners and investors if they choose to. But also, if the investors keep dropping out of the market and selling their investment properties because they're distressed, then there's going to be more, subsequent effect on the renters. There'll be
Gee.
less available and more demand.
And there's a real flood of migration coming in too. Whatever you think of that, I guess that's another debate there. But
Yeah.
skilled labour is required, is my understanding, and also it fuels the
Yes.
economy right now. migration is
Yeah,
the
the
thing that's keeping
inflation's
us
still
going.
there, especially on labour for new construction. There is high costs, so that ends up, most of it needs to be passed on to the person that purchases the property as well. The builders can't hold all of it, so there is some other issues there also.
There's the debate in New South Wales here with the Minns government as well. The 7-star rating, new laws coming in too, adding extra
The
cost to
new
building a
building
property.
code.
Yeah, the new building code.
Well, good quality property, people will pay for it, and I guess it future proofs and improves the value. It's just timing wise is a bit hard when there's people dealing with so many other costs and inflations. So it'll cost more to build the better quality properties and higher star rating, and then again the consumer has to, if they're buying that property, they have to take that on.
And I guess one of the big solutions that's being put forward is government housing. So if you look at the federal government and also the state governments, they're saying that they're going to get in there and build these properties and leave it up to us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look, if they're doing it long-term plans, there's always been a need for more social housing because right now the major, probably more than 70 or 80% is provided by private property owners. So that's a good long-term plan to build these properties, but it's not helping in the short term. We need to, there may be some tax incentives or relief for the investors that currently are holding investment properties and providing those dwellings to the renters that need them desperately. Otherwise, there are a lot of regulations to make sure properties are safe and sound. But if people can't find available properties, they'll start an underground market where they'll start renting out rooms between renters, without being aware of regulations and maintenance and all those things. And that's been proven overseas.
The Reserve Bank, as you say, held the interest rate this time round, but I get the feeling it's likely that there will be a few more rises before it starts to level off.
Well, yeah, I tend to wait and see and not panic too much. Every month, every few months we can reflect, but and monitor the market as we go because reacting to fear or the panic of what may happen, that'll paralyze people's decisions as well in buying or selling or renting where they move and negotiate. There's a lot more renters starting to negotiate if they can longer term tenancies in the fear that people may sell and they'd have to leave each year and go through the stress
Yeah.
again.
Oh.
So or agreeing to fairly strong rental yields right now, what they're paying per week and locking in 1 or
Right.
2 years
I see.
plus.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to that uncertainty, because a lot of people, we're getting stories of people moving, 2-3 times because their property or where they're renting is being sold. Mark,
Being sold.
it's
Yeah.
always great to have you on Australia Overnight. I appreciate. I'll pick up the phone and ring Mark Errichiello. He's always there for me, so thank you, mate.
Thanks, Pat. Likewise. Thanks for having me.
You keep plugging away, and we'll see you soon. So we can find you, of course, Master Advocates. We can get
Yes.
you online, and it's Mark Errichiello. Thanks for your time, mate.
Thank you, Pat. Take care.